Hello and welcome to Genius Indian. Friends, there is a great amount of talk on issues revolving around the preservation of ecology. We see a whole lot of eco-friendly products being sold in the markets around us. We listen a whole lot of debate around climate change and global warming. So it is natural that we also know about the beginning of this movement. How did this concept of environmentalism begin? What were the fundamental reasons behind its beginning? Who were the people who pushed this agenda further? These are some of the issues we will try to answer in today's video. The first signs of environmentalism appeared during 19th century. The first serious voices for preservation of ecology were made by individuals like Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who wrote romantic cameos about animals, plants, lakes, and streams. They described the life in close proximity to nature and about removing the influence of industrialization. They were followed by likes of Henry Thoreau and John Muir. Thoreau was an American poet and philosopher, and he lived in a forest for 2 years, which resulted in his book Walden, which was a reflection about simple living in natural surroundings. In addition to explaining the joys of simple life, he also asked his fellow Americans to extend to nature the same ethical sense of responsibility that they extended to each other. John Muir was a Scottish-American naturalist who hiked in the forests, and he realized what the Indian sages had realized millennia back, that wilderness was a spiritual place and thus worthy of being preserved in its pristine glory. But he did one very important thing. He convinced the US Congress to create the Yosemite National Park to preserve the beautiful valley. And it is because of this that he is, even today, known as the father of national parks. The real environmental movement is about 80 years old. In other words, more or less the same age as our own independent India. Besides, it was not born out of a feeling of sublimity to the nature, but it was rather born due to the threat of disasters. Disasters occurring as a consequence of rampant industrialization and chemicalization of agriculture, as well as due to the loss of forest cover. Thanks to these processes, subjects like dust bowl, soil erosion, floods, droughts, poor air quality, water contamination, and cancer entered the drawing room conversations. The infamous smog of 1952, which killed 4,000 people in London within a short period of 5 days, also pulled people's attention to preservation of ecology. The environmental movement continued to grow during the 1950s, 1960s, and 70s, as a lot of literature was produced on the particular topic. Many influential books were published. The most prominent among these was Silent Spring in 1962. Silent Spring was written by American biologist Rachel Carson, and it spread the awareness about the harmful and dangerous effects of the pesticide DDT. The book was so impactful that it led to the creation of Environmental Protection Agency. And more than that, it led to the ban on the use of a very popular pesticide like DDT. Thanks largely to Rachel Carson, DDT was banned in 1972, which simply means within 10 years of the publishing of her book. The 1970s were greatly important for the Green movement, with many groups like Greenpeace forming during the 1970s. The first Earth Day and the United Nations First Conference on Environmental Issues also took shape during the same 70s. The 1970s also gave birth to a totally new species in the Western countries, the green politicians. Some of these were seriously committed to preservation of ecology, while others talked about environmentalism simply because it got them votes. They also wanted to grab the votes of hippies and other nonconformists. By the time 1980s rolled in, a growing awareness about global warming brought the environmental movement even more into the mainstream. Around this time, Europeans witnessed effects of acid rain on their precious monuments. A whole lot of monuments showed signs of erosion due to disturbance in environment. The statues, the figurines, the busts, the bas-reliefs, and the engravings and embossings on the monuments of cities like Rome, Athens, Paris, and Florence were suffering the injuries inflicted by changing climate and increasing pollution. The stones of Notre Dame were falling down, and the statues on the edge of the roof of Louvre appeared disfigured and dismembered. At the same time, the rivers of Europe and the US were showing effects of rampant neglect. Most rivers were contaminated, from Thames to Danube to Rhine. Today, we talk about our Ganga river being polluted, but at that time, Thames was so polluted that it was called a Great Sink, and Rhine was called the bin of Europe. However, the real scarecrows were the increasing incidences of various cancers due to poisoning of food, air, and water. The scarecrows grew larger with the news of widespread loss of flora and fauna due to the role of chemical fertilizers and pesticides in agriculture farms. Just as they were wondering about it, there was another scare about the skin cancer due to depletion of ozone layer and the rising of temperatures due to global warming. The recent scares, such as the prevalence of MCDs, the spread of dioxins in the dairy products, and discovery about pesticide residues found in common food products, have further pushed Europeans and Americans into doing something about ecology. This scare only spread further during the 90s. During year 94-95 alone, Europe witnessed more than 3,000 ozone peaks. The threat of air pollution since then has also multiplied. Paris city alone has witnessed death of hundreds of people due to atmospheric pollution. Similar studies in Britain have also confirmed death of many people every year due to car exhausts. So friends, this was a brief discussion on the history of environmentalism. Owing to the format, it is meant to be just a primer. But I would recommend that in case you are interested to learn more about this very important subject, then you must study Rachel Carson's Silent Spring and Environmentalism, A Global History by our own Ramachandra Guha. Both of these books will add to your knowledge and clear most of the fundamental aspects on this subject. Of course, I will also speak on this topic yet again in days to come, so please don't miss it. And the best way not to miss it is to subscribe to Genius Indian channel. And the best way to spread the knowledge is to like and share the video. And the best way to improve the quality of the work is to provide your valuable feedback to me. And finally, the best way to end this conversation is to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching.